This
18 years now.
conference will now be recorded.
So I'm primarily into SAP transport management, and I've been working in the transportation management years. And I'll be responsible for conducting this course, in the transportation management area. So that's what I am. And just to give you further info, like for any technical issues and all, I'll be your point of contact. And for any type of admin issues or system access issues, material issues and all, so if you're not getting anything and books and all, Navid will be your point of contact. So that is how we do the segregation. So just let me know once you can see my screen. Just one moment. So because today is the first day, so I generally start with the introduction part. So when I say introduction, so primarily all of you are quite new in transport management. So it is very important to know what does transportation management do in today's supply chain industry, so that you can basically link the role played by transport management in the different supply chain process. Okay. So just to begin on that, what do you feel? What do you mean by transportation management? Anyone who just wants to have
excuse me, sir. Excuse me, sir. Sir, here I am, Viresh.
Yes, tell me.
Sir, I am totally new for the SAP. So my question is, can I take directly classes SAP or TNP module?
Yes, the reason is, basically all are new in TM. So whenever I start with the business processes, first of all, because you should know before you actually do anything in the software solution, you should know the business process, right? So all are new in this area. So there is no demarcation and there is no issue even if you are new in SAP, because I teach everything from scratch.
Okay, sir. You can continue, sir. Thank you.
Yeah. So just that question in keeping in mind. So what do you feel transportation management is about? Any answer, anything from your end? What is transport management? I'm not going into SAP terminology, but just a generic overview of what is transport management. Anyone who wants to start on with that?
It's something that deals with inbound, outbound logistics, freight management, and yeah, something like that.
It's the process of moving goods from location A to location B.
Yes, correct. So yes, I think you are correct in that way. So transportation management basically performs three things. Okay, so one obviously is the movement of the cargo. So when I say a movement of the cargo, that means the movement of your product from one location to another location. That is the first important thing of transport management. Second important thing that of transportation management is by how you are going to do the transport, right? So when I say how you are going to do the transport, whether you are going to do the transport by road, by rail, by sea, by air, so the means by which the transportation has to be done is also another aspect of transportation management. And the third important feature of transportation management is where you want to do the transport. That means what is your source location of your transport? That means from where your transportation should originate and where your transportation should end, right? So where, what, and when, these are the three important questions which is answered by transportation management. Where means I'm talking about location. Where means it's a location. What means what product you are transporting. So whether you are transporting any cargo means goods, or you are transporting any container, okay? And when you want to transport, when means basically what is the pickup date of your transport, what is the delivery date. Because when we talk about transportation, you should keep in mind every transport process needs to abide by the delivery date, right? So for example, if my sales, when I'm doing any type of sales process in my SAP, basically in my sales order, I have my delivery date, right? So I need to make sure that the goods are delivered to the customer within that particular delivery date, right? So my transportation should also be planned in such a way that my delivery date is fixed, is made, or is is basically respected. So these are the three important things which are addressed by transportation. And another important aspect of transportation is that how you want to do the transport. Because for example, if you are moving your transport, for example, from Mumbai to Hyderabad, just to give an example, whether you will be transporting by road, whether you are transporting by rail, that is completely decided by the capacity of the transport, right? So if you are planning to transport 10,000 tons of material, and if you are using a capacity of a truck which is only holding 5,000, that is not going to help you, right? So for that, how you are going to do the transport, that is another important thing of transportation process. So these overall processes are all part of the transportation management system. So again, I repeat, one is the location, second, what you are transporting, third, where you are transporting, fourth, when you are transporting. Correct. These are some of the important questions which are answered by the transportation management. And fifth, obviously, how you want to transport. What is the means of transport by which you want to transport? All these things are taken care by the transportation management process. Okay. Any other question from anyone?
So we have a question.
Yeah.
How would you when you say the means of the transport, what do you mean by means? Is it the truck, train, or what? Like,
Yes. Yes. Means, see, basically, as I told you, if you're moving your transport, if your pickup point is Mumbai and your destination point is Hyderabad, so you need to consider different ways by which your transport has to move. Either it can move by truck, it can move by rail, okay, or it can be moved by any other means. Means the mechanism through which your transportation happens. Okay, so obviously you need to select the best means of transport so that cost is minimized and also the delivery date is met, right? These are the two criteria which you need to select based on which your transportation should happen.
okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other question from anyone? Did all of you understand the concept of transportation management? I did not explain anything about SAP, but is the understanding clear to everyone?
Yes.
Okay. So if you see now we are slowly entering into the SAP world. So you need a platform where all these processes should be integrated, right? Because like whenever you're working on any type of business process, whether you are working in a industry where your objective is to make the goods inbound or outbound movement. Inbound means the goods which are coming into the plant, and outbound means goods which are sold to the customer. So for any type of inbound process, outbound process, anything which you want to maintain, a software solution should be used in order to map those. So that software solution is your SAP transportation management process. So there are different softwares which we have in today industry. One software is SAP, another software can be an Oracle software, another software can be a JD Edwards software, but our focus will be how to use SAP transportation management to have that process integrated. So if you see here, SAP is a software product, right? And like any other processes, whether we are talking, SAP has multiple modules, right? Like we have material management module, which helps you to procurement. We have SD module for order to cash. We have finance module, okay, for dealing with different financial transactions. Similarly, SAP has also launched transportation management module to deal and plan any transportation processes within the system landscape. So if you see this particular flow, there are different components of SAP TM which entirely builds up the SAP TM processes. If you see in the left hand side, one is the order management, second is the planning, third is the execution, and fourth is the charge and the settlement process. So these four pillars makes up the entire transportation management process. Okay, any questions so far?
No, sir.
Okay, what about the others? Everything understood by everyone so far?
Yep.
Okay, so now we'll slowly see what is order management. So order management means what? So because we need to send some requirement to transportation management so that TM understands that certain demands needs to be fulfilled through TM, right? How will a system know whether my transportation has to be managed within SAP? So that means some requirement has to be generated, some demand has to be generated. So based on the demand and the requirement generated in the system, transport management will actually start the triggering of your transportation process using SAP. So that is part of order management. So what does it mean? It means in my ECC system or S4HANA system, I need to create some order, I need to create some delivery. This order or delivery serves as the transportation demand to SAP TM. For example, there are 10 different order types or 10 different delivery types created in the system, out of which I don't want to track, suppose, a third party scenario. I don't want to track a consignment scenario. I don't want to track a rush order scenario. That means out of 10 different order types or delivery types, only 3 or 4 order types I want to track and trace through TM. Rest I don't want to do that. So these 3 order types or 3 delivery types which is to be integrated with TM has to be activated through the order management functionality. So the order management functionality is that part which activates your order or delivery to be integrated with TM. So when I say integrated with TM, that means those order and delivery will raise a demand in my particular transportation management system to indicate that this order or this delivery should be integrated with my TM processes so that the planning can happen based on that. So for example, you can activate sales order with TM, you can activate purchase order, stock transport order, subcontracting order, outbound delivery, inbound delivery. So a lot of things can be done. Okay. Any question on the order management?
Yeah, one quick question. Is this version has been, are you teaching based on the version 2020, correct?
Yes. It is based
Oh,
on S4HANA 2020 version.
okay.
Okay.
Okay, Virendra. Yep.
Yeah. So any other question from order management part?
Does the 2020 still require the OTR, DTR from an integration perspective?
That depends how your landscape is. So if you are using embedded means you are accessing S4HANA logistics and TM using a single sign-on process, using a single server, then you don't need OTR, DTR. But if you are using S4HANA TM as a standalone, That means your core SDMM process is accessed using one server details, your TM is accessed using other server details. In that case, you need different server instances, right? So that is called as a sidecar. So for sidecar scenario, you need OTR and DTR. But if you are using embedded, which is the course content, we don't need OTR, DTR.
Okay.
Any other question?
Yes, so in embedded scenario, the transportation unit will be created instead of OTR. Or freight unit will be created, sorry.
So whenever we are integrating transport management with S4HANA, the first object which is created in TM is freight unit. So if you see the highlighted part, OTR and DTR, it is not created in embedded. So directly we create a freight unit. So freight unit is the first object which is created automatically when my sales order or purchase order, outbound delivery, inbound delivery is integrated with TM. So that is the object which is created, which is called freight unit. So in embedded, we don't create OTR, DTR, directly we create freight unit. But in case you're working in sidecar, then OTR and DTR is created, and from OTR, DTR, freight unit is created. So freight unit is the smallest unit of transport which is created. That means whatever transport you are doing, like whether you are transporting a pallet, you are transporting a product, you are transporting a packaging material, you are transporting a container, anything what you are transporting is captured in freight. Okay, is it clear? So freight unit is always created automatically, it is not created manually. Okay, clear to everyone?
Yeah, Virender. Yep.
Okay, now once the freight unit is created, okay, the next part is what we will do with the freight unit. That is the important question, right? So in the freight unit, basically there are three important information. First of all, in the freight unit you will find from where to where your transport has to be done. That means source location, destination location information is there in the freight unit. Next thing, it will also contain what materials or cargo is there in your freight unit. So whether you are transporting any type of package, pallet, whatever you want to transport, that is contained in your freight unit. And finally, when the transport is going to happen, that means whether it's your source that means what is the pickup delivery date, what is the destination delivery date. So all these dates and all information is also contained in freight unit, because I told you for any transport you need few information like where to transport, when to transport, and what to transport. All this information are contained in your freight unit. Now the question is how many freight units will be created. So you can create either one freight unit from a order or delivery, or you can create multiple freight units from one order or delivery. So for example, in one order or delivery, if you have got 10 different delivery items, you can create either one freight unit or 10 freight units. That is completely driven by the freight unit building rule. If you see, there is a box which is basically linked with the freight unit, which is called freight unit building rule. So that rule defines how and what are the different freight units that is getting created. Okay. Any question?
No question, none from.
Okay. So now the question is, once your particular freight unit is created, what you want to do with the freight unit? So with the freight unit in being created, now we have a second option, second component, which is called planning. So now you have to slowly plan the freight movement, right? So you have created, my TM system knows that I need to do my transport. So the planning component now comes in. So planning can be either manual or automated. So when I say automated, that means the system can automatically plan the freight unit to create your shipment document. Why we need to create a shipment document? Because unless a shipment document is created, how will the transport happen? If we just think normally, the basic reason of a shipment document is to have the movement of your freight, right, from the source to destination. So in order to create the shipment document, we need to have the planning tool create the shipment document so that the freight unit can be moved from source to destination. And in the SAP world, shipment document is nothing but it's a freight order, freight booking. So freight order, freight booking, why do two terminologies for shipment? Because it depends on the mode of transport. Okay, so when we are basically doing freight order is mainly meant for if you are planning to transport using road or rail. But if you are planning to transport using ocean or air, then we use freight booking. So the main objective of planning is to create your freight order or freight booking, and it is done using a planning tool called as a optimizer. So optimizer plans the freight unit. How it plans? It selects the freight unit. It selects the resource. Now resource means how you are going to move your freight. Either you are going to move your freight by road or rail or sea or air, right? Either you are going to use truck, you are going to use trailer, you are going to use rail car, you are going to use vessel, you are going to use flight. So you need to move your transport, that is your freight unit, through a means of transport which is your resource, and this will create your freight order and freight booking. So when you will see a freight order, freight booking, you will see two important information. One, which is the freight unit it has. Secondly, which is the resource it is being used to plan. So these two information makes up your freight order, freight booking. Any question from here? Planning. So ultimate objective of planning is to create your freight order and freight booking. Okay. Any other question from anyone?
None from me, Virendra.
Okay. Now, once my freight order and freight booking. So far, if you see, all we have been doing is planning. We have not physically moved the transport. So how will you know whether your transport has moved or not? So that is the part which is covered under execution and monitoring. See, when a transport moves, there are certain milestones which is there for every transportation process. For example, when your loading has started, loading has ended, unloading has started, unloading has ended, your departure happened, proof of delivery happened. All these are part and parcel of your execution and monitoring process. So during your execution and monitoring process, these are the different milestones which will indicate whether your shipment has started in transit or it has reached your customer location. So in order to report those particular events or milestones, we use the execution and the monitoring tool. So either for execution and monitoring, it can be done within your transport management, or you can use SAP event management to monitor the execution process of your shipment. So just think about an Amazon tool. Within the Amazon tool, you provide your shipment number and you can track whether your shipment is going to arrive on time or it will be delayed. Same thing is in the case of event management. So event management is a URL tracking and a tracing tool where you can use your freight order number, freight unit number, or freight booking number to track and trace the shipment status. And whenever we are creating a freight order and freight booking, please note freight order and freight booking is also called as a subcontracting document, because within a freight order freight booking, we have to assign a carrier. Carrier is the organizational unit which is responsible for physically moving the material from one location to another. Because suppose, for example, you only have a truck, but you need a organization which is responsible for moving the truck from A to B, right? That organization is your carrier. So carrier is the, you can say, a subcontracting person who is entrusted with the responsibility to physically move the transport from one location to another location. All these things are part of the execution and monitoring process. Any question?
Yes. So the tendering process for the carrier, is it the part of planning or execution?
Which one?
Tendering. Asking a quotation from the carrier, accepting his proposal. Is it the part of planning or it'll be execution, I believe?
It will be part of execution, because first of all, my freight order should be created, and then the freight order should be sent to the carrier for getting the quote from the carrier, right? And then once the quotes are acceptable to the shipper, then only the carrier is assigned to the freight order, and then only the execution part should begin. So first of all,
the
the
tendering
output
process
of
is part of
planning,
the planning. Okay.
yes,
Okay.
the output of planning is a freight order, and then the freight order communication has to be done with the carrier.
Okay. Great. Thank you.
Okay. Any other question from anyone? Okay. So last part is, once my carrier picks up the goods from the warehouse, delivers it to customer location, he must be knowing, or he has to know how much he will be paid, because it's a service which the carrier is providing, right? Transportation is a service. First of all, that is the first thing. And whenever you are providing any service, you need to basically get a confirmation how much a carrier should be paid for the service. So that service concept is used. So that means when my carrier is assigned to a freight order freight booking, a charge calculation happens automatically in the freight order freight booking. And how does the charge calculation happen? So the charge calculation happens based on the agreement which you have done with the carrier. So based on the freight agreement with the carrier, the charge calculation happens in the freight order freight booking, and that will basically drive how much amount you need to pay to the carrier for the transportation service. So if you see in the left hand side, there is an agreement, there is a calculation sheet, there is a rate table, there is a scale. So this entire element makes up the transportation management process. So based on this agreement, the freight charge is calculated, and once that freight charge is calculated in the freight booking or freight order, we create the fourth pillar, which is called as a charge and settlement process. So in the charge and the settlement process, once the charge calculation happens in your freight order, we create a settlement document. So settlement document is nothing but it's also called as a draft invoice. Why it is called as a draft invoice? Because this is the document which actually needs to be posted. So a freight settlement document is created manually or automatically from a freight order with all the charges into it, and then we need to post the settlement document, because once the settlement is posted, it automatically creates a service purchase order and service entry sheet automatically. These two objects are required because based on that your finance guy will do the invoice verification and then they will pay to the carrier, because ultimately whenever any service is done by any third party business partner, you need to pay them, right? So that payment part comes only when the invoice verification is done. And as you know, in SAP, any invoice verification which we do is based on a service PO and a service entry sheet. Like if we are doing a commodity procurement, we create a purchase order, we do a good receipt, and then you do a invoice verification. But because here it is a service, so we need to create a service PO, we need to create a service entry sheet, and then you do the invoice. So that is how the entire process ends with the payment of the carrier for their services they render to us. So this is the entire flow from start to end for your TM. Any question from anyone? Any question from anyone?
Virender, one question, even though you covered it, in the entire flow, end-to-end process flow, why the tendering part is tendering or the carrier selection is not existed?
No, this is there, but first of all, tendering is only supported by freight order and not by freight booking. That means if you are implementing tendering process, SAP only supports tendering for freight order process. That means whose mode of transport is road or rail. Freight booking is not supported. That is the first thing. Second thing, if you see the planning block, planning means ultimate objective is twofold. One is to create my freight order freight booking, and it also depends whether you want to do a carrier selection automatically. So that is going to be driven as part of the planning. So planning has many considerations, many constraints. Ultimate objective of planning is not only to create a freight order, it can do automatic carrier selection, it can determine which carrier is actually capable enough to do the transport, what are the different constraints we need to consider, which is the default route we can use to do the execution of your transport, what is the cheapest vehicle resource I can use to do the transport. So there are a lot of things you can do within part of planning. So the carrier selection ultimately is to assign a carrier either manually or automatically. So if you want to assign a carrier automatically, when you are doing the planning, that can be done during the planning phase.
Okay.
Even after the carrier is assigned by the automatic planning, you can also still perform tendering, because maybe my planner is not happy with what the system has proposed as the best carrier. So after that also you can perform the planning, carrier or tendering. But as I told you, tendering is not set up in all the business process because it has certain restrictions.
Okay. Thank you, Virender.
Okay. So any other question on the processes?
Yeah, I have a question regarding the integration of line of business, such as for geocoding or a rate or ocean freight. Will you cover that also?
Geocoding and all we can only cover theoretically, because Geocoding is part of the integration with your geographical information system. And in order to integrate it on a real-time basis, you need a GIS license because you need to connect with a GIS server. But because it's a sandbox learning content, right? We cannot have licenses or servers with a third-party system in that way. But I will give an overview of what are the configurations you need to do to determine the GIS server setup. Okay.
And same for the rate and
Rate is part of, yeah, rate is part of the charge management. So charge management framework we have already covering as part of the freight agreement.
Okay.
We'll also have various other things. For example, we'll also see the output management, how the outputs work in TM. We'll also see how BRA plus condition works with TM. The integration of TM with event management, with overview on integration with GTS, with extended warehouse management. We'll see all those. We'll also have a technical TM class so that I will show you how to find out the different types of tables and field values while you are writing any type of specification documents. So all these things will be covered in our class.
Thank you.
Virender, go ahead. I think someone have a question.
I have a question.
Virender, are you covering the transportation cockpit, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Cockpit will be considered, optimizer will be considered. Optimizer means automatic planning.
And how it will
Oh.
work, the configuration also related to optimizer run.
Everything will be done.
Okay.
Everything will be covered in details. We'll work on a multimodal scenario. That means road, ocean, road. These are the different 3 stages of planning we'll do.
Okay. And also
And how this
package building profile capacity related to container 20 feet less than container or 40 feet container, that we will walk through in the detail in the coming sessions.
container unit is not in scope. So let me be very clear. This is a 30-hour course. Okay, it's not a so we will mainly take care of the active resources. Active resource means trucks and oceans and containers and all, but we are not doing container unit planning. We'll use a container where we will basically transport the product within a container, but we are not doing container unit planning. Okay, we are doing the planning based on trucks and the products. Package builder, yes, we will show you how this is built up in the system.
Perfect. And the cost related to the size, volume of the package, that also we will go through once we go into the charge management side.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Any other thing?
I have a quick question, Vendor, just for my elaboration. When you say the transportation demand going into TM coming from either inbound and outbound, so we usually see shipping condition is used. What are other criteria where we can, send transportation demand to TM other than shipping condition?
So in standard, we can use delivery type, sales office, distribution channel, division.
Yeah, that's that's document type. But we usually use a shipping condition, that if this is order and this is the shipping condition in the integration profile combination,
Yes.
and it creates the transportation demand. So other than the shipping condition, can we use Incoterm?
In standard, it is not supported. You have to go for an enhancement.
No, I think Virendra, with the latest in logistic integration profile, we can use the Incoterms, right?
No, Incoterm is only used for splitting the stage. Incoterm is not used to integrate your order or delivery with TM. Incoterm never controls that. You can always have that, but for that, you have to build a Z table. You have to do the coding. that will read the Z table, and then you can check if your freight unit is to be created or not. It is never supported through LIP profile. Integration is not there with Incoterm for freight unit creation. Incoterm is only there to split a stage. If you want to have multi-stage, then you can use Incoterm, but not for integrating with TM.
So you're saying in standard it's only shipping condition supported. If I would like
In
to
standard,
harmonize process for PO and SO and would like to use my Incoterm, that's a customization.
that's an enhancement, not customization. That's an enhancement. Okay. So if you are going to use Incoterm, then you have to do a development or an enhancement, which will control your integration with TM. In standard, only shipping conditions, delivery types, and all units like sales organization, purchase organization, distribution channel division. These are some of the criteria which are used in standard. Okay. Any other question from anyone?
So my understanding, we will go high level, theoretical, basic transportation process.
High level theoretical SAP transportation process, I did not understand. There's no thing called high level.
And if I say if there's a milk truck scenario, let's say there's a milk truck scenario, truck goes and deliver to the 6 customers. Will you go in that process and give us an idea about it, how it will work?
Yes, I'll give you an idea on that.
Okay, and then dangerous goods going incompatibly scenario. And
See, if you are okay, yeah, I'll cover as part of the BRF plus conditions there. Okay, the DG goods and all. Okay, but one advice, I know you're looking into some contents and telling me all this, but what I will request you, because all of you are quite new in TM, don't try to absorb everything in this one, because there are a lot of other integration features available. Okay, whatever is required for your initial and basic understanding, that will be covered. Okay, because if I now directly go into DG, I don't think you all have, I don't know what about your experience, but in that case you need to know more details into ENHS, environment health safety module. Okay, I don't think anyone knows that, because what I understood from your experience. So whatever minimum is required for all these processes, it will be covered.
okay, sir. Okay.
Okay, because we have been doing this for the last 4 to 5 years. So whatever courses we are designing or whatever it will be done, I will try to give a more flavor to industry, and not every industry implements DG goods. Okay,
No, I
it is
understand,
mainly implemented for chemical industry
my
and
concern
sometimes for
is
pharma
related,
industry.
my concern is related to my industry, where we have the
Yeah,
milk
yeah,
truck
that's what
scenario,
I'm
we
saying.
have a dangerous compatibility, package building profile, many things. So if I have a
Yes.
certain question based on that, that's what I was thinking, how much time you have to give more input, because I see some
So
other.
that is part of the content. We are using BRA plus incompatibility and optimizer to take care of that. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Any other question from anyone? Okay then. So I think we'll stop here. So just few things. First of all, you'll get the recorded files. You'll get the certification materials. You'll also have access to the system even after the course is over. Generally, we conduct 4 to 5 hours of classes per week. So we try to wrap it up in 1.5 to 2 months. It is maximum ranges between 24 to 30 hours, what I have seen with the course content. Step by step, configure field by field level explanation, hands-on configuration, everything will be done from scratch. The system will be given access to you once we start with the processes and once we start with the classes from the next one. from the next. Okay. So these are some of the things which I thought of just informing you. Okay.
Virender, is it a weekly class or a daily class?
Yeah. So the time schedule will be prepared by Naveen. So he will reach out to all of you who express interest in terms of continuing the classes, and he will tell you the timing. So we are flexible both weekdays and weekends. So currently we have for both the slots. He will currently club, and he will, and you can express your convenience time to him.
Sure. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, Virender.
Okay. Then so I stop here, and then you let us know, and accordingly we will proceed. Okay. Okay. Thanks everyone for your time. I wish you a happy festive season also. Bye bye.
Thanks everyone. Bye bye.
Bye bye. Yeah. Bye.